So Wizpig is castrated as the result of losing a race. And that's the end of the game. Like, that's his defeat. But if that's all it took, then why wasn't he defeated the first time around? What's the difference between the second time he is defeated? After the first race, he just throws this sort of tantrum and disappears. And his disappearance is somehow linked to the weather, which is another sort of common, like, fairy tale thing, right? Suddenly, it's not raining. Something has changed. Wizpig himself represents something about the environment. And the second time, we fight him in Future Funland, which is his home. That's where he belongs. And I think that's the main difference. That in order to defeat Wizpig, he needed to be fought in his own environment, in his own context. That's what changes everything, I think. And Future Funland, again, as the name implies, has something to do with the future. And as I suggested, Star City seems to have something to do with the present. There's something about Future Funland and wealth, the wealth of a big city, at least. And I associate this to the present moment in terms of when the game is made. So that's where we fight Wizpig. And maybe this is why his defeat is more final here, because he is being fought in the present. He is no longer maybe a memory or a projection into the future, but it is taking place right here and now. And it introduces this theme of time again into the game, which I think is important, right? Future. There's something about time here that is being explored in relation to the defeat of Wizpig and in relation to Wizpig himself. What is he, right? Because he is, he belongs to a place called future in this sense. So his very nature is linked to time in some way, right? It's for me difficult not to see Wizpig's statue, big stone statue, as a Sphinx head, a guardian statue, which in the Greek myth would be associated to time in the sense that the Sphinx's riddle, its answer is time. So to cross the threshold, the entrance that the Sphinx represents, a riddle has to be solved that concerns time, and therefore a sort of an awareness about time, an understanding about it, needs to be reached. And in any case, so the way this plays out, I think, in the game is that I've been thinking about this, and I feel that, I was outlining all these seeming dualities between different areas of the map. There seem to be mountainous areas and valley areas. There seem to be hot areas and cold areas. And I was wondering, why do you, as a protagonist, circle around this area and therefore cycle through all these states? You move from the heights to the depths and from the hot to the cold and then back again. And I think that maybe the act of cycling through different states, from up, down, hot, cold, this act of cycling through different states may symbolize time itself in the same way that the passing of the seasons would, right? From summer to winter, this sort of change of hot to cold. And if that were the case, then the connection to Spiral Mountain in Banjo-Kazooie makes more sense in the sense that it seems as if your cycling through this place is a cycling through time itself. You're going round and round through the ups and downs of time. But then somehow, as in Banjo-Kazooie, Spiral Mountain stops spiraling and enters into Gruntilda's mouth. The entry into the mouth of the Sphinx is somehow a transcendence of time in some sense, right? And I think that that's what's happening with Wizpig as well, that somehow to cross that threshold is to somehow gain a different kind of awareness of what time means for oneself or for other people. I don't know. So, in any case, it's interesting then also that Future Funland, and specifically Spaceport Alpha, is decorated with different slogans, different logos from the game itself, Nintendo logos, Rareware logos, and so on. And even though other areas have done this, there are always little sort of logos peppered around the stages. This may just be a personal perception, but it felt to me as if Spaceport Alpha was more filled with these kinds of logos, right? The landing area has a giant 64 on it. It's as if more aspects of the level design make use of logos. Probably because the theme is one of big technological installations, so it fits logos better. Whereas a lot of the more nature-oriented stages don't quite fit with the artificiality of logos. And that itself already makes me think that there is kind of a resonance between the technology that Spaceport Alpha is meant to represent and the console itself, video games themselves. There is a way in which they fit. As if Spaceport Alpha and maybe Future Funland itself is not just the present moment. It doesn't just transcend, in this sense, the past and the future as memories and projections, but it is also somehow an awareness of the, I don't know what you would call it, the meta conditions of the game, the material conditions that it finds itself sort of surrounded by, maybe, in the sense that it is a video game, it is a console. And that perhaps the awareness of this fact is what is the defeat of Wizpig. It is the defeat of Wizpig, is the awareness of this fact within the game. I don't know. And not just in a cynical kind of way where the second the game dispels its own magic, suddenly victory is achieved. No, I feel that it's more a case of a link, a bridge being brought between the magic of the game and the, let's say, the mundane aspect of the game. A link between them that could allow the magical side of the game to not be dispelled like a veil, but in fact to gain materiality through a sort of osmosis between the two worlds, and for the mundane reality of the game as plastic cartridge, as console, to be imbued with more magic, with more sort of meaning and wonder and something of that nature, I think, may be going on here. And that therefore maybe that is the defeat of Wizpig in some way. Wizpig is this guardian in between the two worlds that was somehow preventing an osmosis kind of flow between them. And that the prevention of this osmosis was simply an unawareness of the ways in which the two worlds kind of interacted in some way. And so it's funny also then that after the first defeat of Wizpig, we celebrate on the beach. We celebrate close to the shore. But it is not a final, it is not like it is not the final celebration. In fact, it's almost as if the fact that it is close to the shore goes hand in hand with the fact that Wizpig is allowed to return home, or that the shore as connection between worlds, between the world of the sand and the world of the water, when chosen as a place of celebration, it already sort of suggests that the psyches of the people celebrating are making some sort of a distinction between those worlds. They're celebrating on the shore and not on the beach, right? That they are in one world but not on the other. It's a half celebration. However, after the second defeat of Wizpig, the celebration is in the central hub of the world. It's in this, what I think would represent the center of the mandala, be it the center between dualities, the center between past and future, between up and down, that kind of thing. In some way, I think, serves as this location for the final celebration. And it is funny then that this final celebration opens up with a kind of closer look at the rainbow as image, as symbol. And this rainbow kind of descends down to the celebration, where we see the characters crossing a bridge, funnily enough, which could stand, again, in my interpretation, for the rainbow itself as bridge between worlds, as if to say that what is being celebrated here is the meeting, the conversation between the two worlds, between the ocean and the shore, this kind of thing, between the unconscious and consciousness, or just between self and other, between different individuals. And that is why it's a celebration amongst many people. It is a social occasion.